Hello everyone! Today we are going to review Ukrainian localization by Innoware. And we will cover such functionalities as party name translations, extended functionality of purchase and sales agreements, and tax invoices. And let's start from the name translations of parties in Global Address Book. Let's go to the Global Address Book. Here I will find my party. And we have to go to Party, Languages, and Translations. Now we have to click Edit, and in this field we have to select the language in which we want to create a translation. I'm going to select Ukrainian. Here we have original text and translated text. I'm going to add translated text. Now we have to click Save. And Ukrainian translation for party name is added. Later, this translation can be used in various reports. A part of Ukrainian localization is Financial Dimension Agreement Ukraine, where financial dimension values are created as far as you create purchase or sales agreements. This functionality only works in Ukrainian legal entities, so let's go to review purchase agreement. I will open my agreement. We will go to the header and I will click Edit. Let's review financial dimensions here. As we can see, financial dimension agreement is already filled in and it's not open for modifying. And that's because if the agreement is used on such a document as purchase agreement, purchase order, vendor invoice, invoice journal, or vendor payment journal, then this financial dimension is filled in automatically and cannot be edited manually. Let's review purchase order. I'm going to open purchase order that was created with purchase agreement that we just saw. Now let's go to the header. And here on the General tab, we can see new field, Purchase Agreement ID. And if we go to the Financial Dimensions, the Financial Dimension Agreement is also filled in. Let's review Invoice for this purchase order. I'm going to go to the Invoice, Journals, and Invoice. This invoice inherited financial dimension from purchase order in this case, but here additionally we can add status to this invoice. So I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna select status, for example signed, and click OK. And we can see here that the status have been changed. Let's now review invoice journal. I'm gonna open my invoice journal. And here we have also agreement. Let's open financial dimensions, account, and here we have the financial dimension agreement, and we see that it's not open for modifying as well. I'm gonna click OK. Let's now review vendor payment journal. I'm gonna open my vendor payment journal. Here we also have agreement. I'm gonna click on financial dimensions and account, and we see here agreement as well. Now let's open our vendor account. I'm gonna go to the vendor transactions and click on transactions. Here, every transaction we can mark as an error transaction. For example, I can choose this transaction, this invoice, click here on error and choose mark error. And we can see that it is marked as transaction that has error. And later, transactions that are marked as an error could be included or excluded from the vendor reconciliation report separately from other transactions. For sales agreement exists the same logic as for purchase agreement. Let's open sales agreement. I'm gonna filter and find my agreement. Let's go to the header, and here we can see our financial dimension agreement that is filled in as well as for purchase agreement. Let's go to the sales order, and here we will open sales orders that was created with the same sales agreement. I will go to header, and here on general tab we as well have the new field sales agreement ID. And if we go to the financial dimensions, we can see financial dimension agreement here as well. For sales orders, we can also create invoices for payment using this functionality. However, for this sales order, this invoice is already created, and we can review it here under Invoice, Journals, Customer Invoice for Payment Journal. These invoices are created to then be settled with payments. We can see here internal numbers, external invoice for payment ID. We can see here sales agreement ID, sales order, and here we can see the sum of this invoice for payment. We can see here closed amount, which was paid, and amount to be paid. This invoice for payment was not settled with payment, so no amount is here under closed amount, and the invoice status is not paid. It can be not paid, paid, or partially paid. We can also cancel our invoice for payment if it was created by mistake. We can go to invoice for payment, maintenance, customer invoice for payment cancellation, and we will here click OK to cancel. OK. Now here we have cancelled invoice for payment. Let's go back and let's review the invoice for this sales order. We can see here invoice, and let's open this invoice. And here under Invoice tab we have such a field as X status, and we can change it the same way as we change it for purchase invoice journal. So I'm gonna open invoice and here change X status. I'm gonna open it and let's pick here signed status and click OK. Now our X status is signed. Now let's review customer payment journal. I will open my payment journal, and here we can see also agreement ID. I'm gonna go to financial dimensions and account, and here we can see agreement as well. The same logic works not only for payment journal but also for general journal or free tax invoices. Let's now go to the customer account. Here we're going to go to customer transactions and click transactions. I'm going to filter all transactions to be only open. And here we can settle payment with invoice for payment. We're going to go to the payment, click settlement. Here we are going to select settle of invoice for payment with payment. Here we can see our payment journal line, and here we can see that we have multiple invoices for payment. And now I can, for example, select this one to settle with payment. We can see here that we have transaction amount of our payment 140, and this invoice for payment has amount of 120. I will select this invoice for payment, and we can see that this invoice for payment is now fully paid. However, we still have 20 Ukrainian hryvnias that are not settled and can be settled with different invoice for payment. Now I will click OK. And in the same way as with vendor transactions, we also can mark customer transactions as error transactions. So we can go, for example, select this invoice and click error and choose mark error. And we can see that this invoice is now marked as an error. And let's review customer and vendor reconciliation reports. These two reports have the same logic, so now I will show only the customer reconciliation report. I'm gonna go to customers. I will open inquiries and reports, open customers, and click customer reconciliation report UR. Here I want to choose customer account. The currency was populated from customer account, and here I have to specify from date and to date to define the period within which the transactions will be shown. Here we can specify agreement to see this report only for transactions with this specific agreement, or we can leave this field empty, so we will see transactions for all agreements, and also we will see those transactions that don't have any agreement. Here we can click yes to show errors, which means that we will see in our report all the transactions, even those that were marked as errors. We can also here add empty columns for contractor, and we can also group our transactions by agreement. Let's group. So now we can click OK. As we can see, our report is generated, and here we have opening balance for this period, then we have opening balance by agreement, turnover by agreement, and closing balance by agreement. Then we have opening balance, turnover, and closing balance for those transactions that don't have any agreements assigned to them. And at the end we have total turnover and total closing balance. Now let's review tax invoices within the Ukrainian localization. Let's go to the tax module, open tax invoices, and click tax invoices. Here we can see the directory of all tax invoices, and we are going to create new by clicking new. Here we can see tax invoice creation wizard, and now we can define tax invoice date and account type. We can select customer, vendor, or legal entity. I'm going to select customer. Here we can see the text type has changed to output. For account type vendor, the text type would be input. Vendor tax invoices we also can import from XML files instead of creating it manually. Here under tax invoice kind we can define different kind of tax invoices, and all the other data were populated automatically from our settings. Let's click next, and here we have to define customer account. All the other data were also populated automatically, so let's click next again. Here we can define reason code, exception code, tax code article number, or we also can link the basic document to our tax invoice. The basic document is either payment or invoice. I'm gonna find my invoice. and select invoice. Here I can click to copy lines from the source document, so we don't have to create those lines manually, and I will click finish. Here we can see our tax invoice. We have here our header and lines, and we also can see that we already have one line, and this line was copied from our invoice that we previously selected. But we also can copy lines not only from invoices. I will click here copy and select copy from contractor documents. And here we can see that we can copy from different sources, like invoice for payment that we reviewed previously, from other tax invoices, and so on. And we can reverse sign as well. Let's go back because we already have one line. And now we can post our invoice. I'm going to go to tax invoices, post, and click post. Here we can post with the same date as tax invoice date, or I can define different date and click OK. Our tax invoice was posted, and we can click on voucher and see the voucher. And here we have our voucher, and the main accounts are coming from our ledger posting group. Let's go back. Tax invoices we can also export to XML. We can export into local folder or SharePoint folder depending on our settings. The export and import projects are configured using a data management framework, and Ukrainian Localization also supports mass export and mass import of tax invoices. After invoice is posted, and if the invoice is created and posted by mistake, we also can cancel it. I will go to tax invoices, post, and click cancel, and here I will click OK. And now our tax invoice is cancelled. Thank you for your attention.